Zlatan's story is the tale of a true legend who rose above a challenging upbringing to create an enduring legacy. So, gather around as we uncover why Zlatan Ibrahimović will forever reign as the king of football. From the very beginning, Zlatan Ibrahimovic's journey was marked by resilience. Born to a Bosnian father and a Croatian mother, Zlatan grew up in Rosengård, a tough, immigrant-dense neighborhood in Sweden. His childhood was far from easy. He faced relentless racism and prejudice due to his heritage. Teased mercilessly for the size of his nose and his foreign origins, young Zlatan also struggled with a lisp. This led to the school assigning him a special teacher for individual lessons, a move that only added to his humiliation. Despite these hardships, Zlatan showed grit even as a child. Attending school primarily for the free lunches, he endured more challenges than most kids his age, including a turbulent home life. His parents divorced when he was just 2 years old, and his father, Šefik Ibrahimović, bore the scars of the Balkan War. These domestic struggles only deepened Zlatan's determination to overcome. Stay tuned. There's much more to this inspiring story of triumph and the making of a football king. Zlatan Ibrahimovic's journey was shaped by hardship and resilience, and his bond with his father played a pivotal role in his life. After his parents divorced, Zlatan's father, Šefik, struggled to cope with the traumatic memories of the Balkan War, where his Bosnian village was brutalized by Serbian forces. Despite these challenges, Zlatan felt a stronger connection with his father than his mother. When Šefik left the family home, young Zlatan couldn't handle the separation and eventually moved in with him. Šefik, though burdened by financial struggles, did everything he could for his son. Zlatan became emotional recalling those sacrifices, like the time his father bought him a bed from IKEA but couldn't afford the delivery fee, so they carried it home together. "It's fantastic what we did," Zlatan once said. His father even gave up his entire salary so Zlatan could attend a training camp, even if it meant he couldn't pay the rent. Despite these touching moments, Zlatan's childhood remained challenging. What he needed most was to discover his passion for football, a passion that would change everything. Remember the teacher assigned to work individually with Zlatan, which humiliated him as a child? That same teacher would later watch him play football. Zlatan, determined to prove himself, took a long-distance shot that struck her on the head. The incident was enough for the teacher to quit her job. But for Zlatan, it was a turning point. He realized that with a ball at his feet, he could control his destiny. From that day forward, Zlatan began to transform into the football legend the world knows today. The world would soon be at Zlatan Ibrahimovic's feet. Reflecting on his fiery ambition, he once said, "I wanted to stand up to the whole world and show everybody who doubted me who I really was. I couldn't imagine anyone being able to stop me." Note, don't try Zlatan's methods with your teachers. It worked for him, but there's only ever been one Zlatan. That pivotal moment marked a change in Zlatan's mindset forever. If you think his bold, trash-talking style emerged after he turned pro, think again. "I always tried to play cocky like that," Zlatan confessed. "It's something that has stayed with me since I was little. You couldn't show any weakness." Zlatan's love for the game, mixed with the toughness he developed in his neighborhood and his admiration for Brazilian icons like Ronaldo instead of Swedish players, crafted his unique showmanship. His confidence soared, and soon enough he joined Malmö's academy. But Zlatan's path to becoming a professional wasn't smooth. Relentlessly chasing perfection, he would get mad at himself when he couldn't be the game-changer he aspired to be. By 1996, he even considered giving up football entirely. So what kept him going? Part of the credit goes to Malmö's youth coach, Johnny Helenius. Reflecting on that time, Helenius recalled, "He wasn't so keen to play football anymore. I think he really liked scoring goals, but when he couldn't do it, it became a problem for him. We talked a lot, and I had great respect for him. Slowly, he started to move on in Malmö. With renewed determination, Zlatan began taking the first steps toward the legend he would become. Zlatan's journey to greatness wasn't without its hurdles, even after he made it to the professional stage. Joining Malmö's first team as a teenager was a dream come true, but it brought back an old painful issue: racism. Once again, Zlatan faced discrimination, this time from his own teammates. Reflecting on that period, Zlatan said, "When I first arrived in Malmö, I wasn't accepted by my teammates or the environment because I had a foreign name. I wasn't a starter. I came off the bench, but even then, I wasn't welcome or accepted." However, his fortunes changed when a coach named Roland Andersson arrived. Roland believed in me, and that gave me the opportunity I needed. Once I got my chance, I dominated completely. In Zlatan's first season as a professional, Malmö was relegated. Though he didn't play a significant role in that season, many of the team's key players left following relegation. This opened the door for Zlatan to step up. Taking on a bigger role, he helped Malmö regain their place in the first division within a year, finishing as the team's top scorer. By the time Malmö was back in Sweden's top-tier league, Zlatan's talent had become impossible to ignore. His performances caught the attention of international scouts, and at just 19 years old, he made the leap to Ajax, with the Dutch club paying $8 million to sign him. While $8 million may not seem like much today, it was a record-breaking fee for Ajax at the time, especially for a player who had only a handful of appearances in Sweden's top division. The price tag brought enormous pressure for the young striker. Zlatan's move to Amsterdam marked his first time living abroad, and the adaptation wasn't easy. His struggles were compounded when Swedish media painted him as a troublemaker, citing incidents like reckless driving. Yet, despite the challenges, Zlatan was determined to rise above. Zlatan quickly silenced his critics by showcasing his talent on the field. In his first derby against Feyenoord, he scored a goal and provided an assist, and he added a couple of crucial goals in the UEFA Cup as well. Just as his troublemaker reputation began to fade, however, off-field issues emerged. Zlatan struggled to adapt to life in Amsterdam. The challenges of settling into the city and overcoming the language barrier took a toll on his form, leading to inconsistency. Frustrated fans began to turn against him, and Zlatan went from being Ajax's brightest prospect to considering a loan move to escape the pressure. But just when hope seemed distant, the club appointed Ronald Koeman as head coach, and his arrival proved to be a turning point in Zlatan's journey with Ajax. Koeman gave Zlatan a key role in the squad, and the Swedish striker seized the opportunity. Zlatan shone brightly under Koeman's guidance. He scored a goal and delivered 2 assists in a league title-clinching game against Sparta Rotterdam, then followed it up with a goal in the Dutch Cup final. His contributions earned Ajax 2 domestic trophies in his debut season in Europe. Over the next 2 years, Zlatan would add another league title and a Super Cup to his growing trophy cabinet. It became clear that the Eredivisie was no longer a challenge for him. Bigger opportunities awaited, and Juventus came knocking. By the time of his transfer, Zlatan had already cemented his legacy in Dutch football. His farewell game against NAC Breda featured one of the most iconic goals of his career, a moment of pure genius. Weaving through half the opposing team, Zlatan executed mesmerizing feints, clever dribbles, and pinpoint cutbacks before calmly finishing to cap off a masterpiece. It was a fitting send-off for a player whose star was only beginning to rise. Zlatan's unforgettable goal against NAC Breda was crowned the 2004 Goal of the Year by Eurosport, and if the Puskas Award had existed back then, it surely would have been his. Although Zlatan would ultimately claim the Puskas Award 9 years later, this masterpiece remains one of the standout moments of his career. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's still much more to explore in the King's extraordinary journey. Before diving into the next chapter, we've got a quick request. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with more incredible football stories about the world's greatest players and legendary moments. So what are you waiting for? Hit that like button and subscribe now. Back to Zlatan's story. In 2004, Juventus signed Ibrahimovic for $20 million at the personal request of their coach, Fabio Capello. The Italian mastermind saw immense potential in the young Swede and believed he could become a world-class finisher. Capello explained, "When I moved to Juventus, I immediately asked the club to sign him. He had the same technical skills as Van Basten, and I made him watch videos of Marco to improve his finishing." Zlatan understood immediately, and I think the results speak for themselves. Under Capello's guidance, Zlatan scored an impressive 16 goals in his debut Serie A season, playing a pivotal role in Juventus's march to the league title. His incredible performances led to back-to-back Scudetti during his 2 years with the Old Lady. But Zlatan's time in the black and white jersey wasn't only about trophies. It was also defined by his fierce battles with rival defenders, including legendary players like AC Milan's Joop Stam. These clashes showcased Zlatan's unyielding spirit and competitive edge, traits that would continue to define his illustrious career. Stay tuned as Zlatan's story takes even more dramatic and thrilling turns on his path to football greatness. Zlatan's time in Italy was filled with drama, glory, and defining moments. One of his more infamous encounters came when Sinisa Mihajlovic and Messina's Carmine Coppola tested their luck by putting a hand on Zlatan's throat, an unwise move, given Ibrahimovic's martial arts background. However, the event that truly changed Zlatan's career in Serie A was the infamous Calciopoli scandal. Juventus, embroiled in a match-fixing controversy, faced severe repercussions. They were stripped of their league titles and relegated to Serie B. Zlatan, unwilling to play in the lower division, sought an exit. The solution came in the form of Inter Milan. Already a world-class striker, Zlatan signed a lucrative contract with the Nerazzurri, placing him among the highest-paid players in Italy. His relationship with Inter fans, however, was a complex mix of admiration and frustration. On the pitch, Ibrahimovic was unstoppable. He became the most lethal striker in Serie A, guiding Inter to one Scudetto after another. The 2007-08 campaign epitomized his impact. Inter needed a win against Parma in the final game to clinch the title, but Zlatan was unfit to start. Sitting on the bench, the tension grew. When coach Roberto Mancini brought him on in the last 30 minutes, Zlatan delivered, scoring 2 iconic goals to secure Inter's second consecutive league triumph. By the following season, Zlatan's dominance in Serie A reached its peak. He won the league's top scorer title and lifted yet another Scudetto, solidifying his status as a domestic powerhouse. But there was a glaring issue: Inter's failure on the European stage. While city rivals AC Milan basked in Champions League glory, Inter struggled to find similar success, and Zlatan couldn't change that. In his third season, despite his extraordinary performances, the growing frustration over Inter's lack of international trophies and Zlatan's own ambitions would lead to an unexpected twist in his journey. Stay tuned to see how Zlatan's relentless drive for greatness would shape the next chapter of his legendary career. Zlatan Ibrahimovic's time at Inter Milan reached a boiling point under Jose Mourinho. With Inter already knocked out of the UEFA Champions League and the Italian Cup, frustrations among the Nerazzurri fans were palpable. During a league match against Lazio, Zlatan scored and chose to celebrate in his signature provocative style, this time with a brutal gesture directed at Inter's own fans. His iconic silence gesture was the breaking point in an already strained relationship. Despite his role in leading Inter to domestic dominance, Zlatan realized it was time to move on. His 3-year tenure at Inter was immensely successful, with 3 consecutive Serie A titles to his name. If not for the Calciopoli scandal, his record would boast 5 straight Italian league titles, including 2 with Juventus. Yet the Lion was still hungry. The lure of achieving his ultimate dream, the Champions League trophy, pushed him to seek a new challenge. In one of the most controversial moves of his career, Zlatan left Mourinho and Inter to join Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. Mourinho later admitted his frustration at losing the Swedish star, but Zlatan had his sights set on Europe's grandest prize. For Barcelona, fresh off their historic 2009 treble, Ibrahimovic was seen as the ideal replacement for Cameroon's legendary Samuel Eto'o. On paper, it seemed like a win-win scenario. Barcelona acquired one of the world's best strikers, and Zlatan gained his best shot at Champions League glory. However, things didn't go as planned. Zlatan's time at Barcelona, though impactful, lasted only a single season. His tenure with the Blaugrana became infamous, not for his achievements on the field, but for his explosive fallout with Pep Guardiola. What could have been a match made in football heaven quickly devolved into one of Zlatan's most turbulent chapters. Stay tuned as we delve into the chaos, drama, and the unforgettable moments that define Zlatan's brief but fiery spell at Camp Nou. From the very beginning, it was clear that Pep Guardiola and Zlatan Ibrahimovic were an unlikely pairing. Zlatan's dynamic, bold style clashed with the rigid precision of Barcelona's tiki-taka system that had propelled the team to greatness. But on the pitch, things initially looked promising, remarkably so. The Swedish striker netted an impressive 11 goals in his first 14 games, an output comparable to modern scoring machines like Erling Haaland. Yet, Guardiola wasn't satisfied with Zlatan's overall fit within the team. Meanwhile, Lionel Messi, already the team's golden boy, continued to deliver extraordinary performances. Messi expressed a desire to play as a center forward, and Pep granted his wish. This decision sidelined Zlatan both literally and figuratively, as his role diminished significantly. Behind the scenes, the situation spiraled. As we learned years later, Zlatan and Guardiola stopped speaking altogether. Imagine 2 grown men sharing the same workplace daily, yet avoiding even basic greetings. Opinions differ on why their communication broke down. Some claim Zlatan resented losing his place in the team. Others suggest Guardiola deliberately ignored him to push him out of the squad. The exact truth remains between them, but Zlatan didn't hesitate to share his thoughts after leaving Barcelona. If you have a problem with me, it's up to you to solve your problem. You are the leader. You are the coach. You can't have good dialogue with 20 players and then with the 21st. You just look away. Zlatan wasn't the only one to criticize Pep's management style. While widely regarded as a tactical genius, Guardiola has often been accused of mishandling players who don't fit neatly into his plans. When he relies on a player, their relationship thrives. But when someone falls outside his tactical vision, he tends to sideline them, emotionally and professionally. This brewing tension would ultimately lead to Zlatan's departure from Barcelona, but not before leaving behind an unforgettable story of ambition, conflict, and untapped potential. Ibrahimovic's final 6 months at Barcelona were nothing short of a nightmare. His frustration grew so intense that he once threw a box of training equipment across the dressing room. Yes, that actually happened. It was a dramatic sign that things had completely broken down. At one point, there was a tense meeting with the team in the conference room, and no one was allowed to leave until the situation was resolved. It was clear that the relationship between Ibrahimovic and the club had reached an irreversible point. Meanwhile, Barcelona suffered a crushing defeat to Inter Milan in the Champions League semi-finals, and Ibrahimovic's former club, Inter, went on to win the trophy. It was a bitter pill for the Swede, who had joined Barcelona in hopes of lifting the Champions League with them. Asked about Ibrahimovic's departure, José Mourinho claimed that it played a crucial role in changing Inter's mindset. My assistants were devastated, and I was worried, he said. But in the end, I told them, maybe you leave us and we end up winning the Champions League. It sounds crazy, but the atmosphere in the dressing room did change after he left. Ibrahimovic's time in Spain was over, and in the aftermath, he publicly revealed his fallout with Barcelona manager Pep Guardiola. Guardiola later confirmed that the two had almost no communication during their time together. Ibrahimovic and I spoke only twice in 6 months. There's a reason for that, but it's better for the club if I don't go into details. Despite all the drama, Ibrahimovic did accomplish some notable achievements with Barcelona. He won his first 2 international trophies, became a Club World Cup champion, and claimed a domestic title, playing a crucial role in the first half of the season. But despite the challenges, the Swede's career wasn't over. As some began to believe his best days were behind him, Zlatan proved them wrong. He returned to the form that made him a world-class talent, and with a number of top clubs courting him, he had a few enticing options for his next move. Zlatan Ibrahimovic chose to return to Italy, where he would once again reign as a king, despite his fallout with Juventus fans. In a bold, typically Zlatan-like move, he joined AC Milan, deciding to continue his career at one of Italy's top 3 clubs. The decision meant severing ties with the Nerazzurri supporters, but for a king like Zlatan, public opinion was never a concern. He took on one of the biggest challenges of his career and showed the world that his best days were far from over. While his time at Inter had been brilliant, his first spell at Milan was nothing short of extraordinary. Zlatan led the team to its first Scudetto in 7 years, defying the odds against a Juventus side that was the reigning European champions at the time. Now, let's see if you were paying attention, viewers. How many consecutive league titles had Ibrahimovic won by that point? If you include the 2 league titles he won with Juventus before the Calciopoli scandal, Zlatan had claimed every domestic league title he'd played in since 2004. One with Ajax, another with Barcelona, and a total of 6 Scudetti with Juventus, Inter, and Milan. At that moment, Zlatan had the world at his feet. During his 2 years at Milan, Ibrahimovic also became Serie A's top scorer for the second time. He scored 56 goals in 85 appearances for the club and was widely regarded as one of the best strikers in the world. That is, of course, unless you don't consider one other player to be in the conversation. Zlatan Ibrahimovic had already made history in Italy, but the new rich kid on the block wasn't finished yet. In 2012, PSG, newly under the ownership of QSI, targeted Zlatan as the star who could elevate the club to the top of French football and, more importantly, bring them European glory. Just 3 months after QSI took full control of PSG, they convinced the 30-year-old Ibrahimovic to take on yet another challenge and conquer a new territory. Zlatan agreed to a 3-year deal, set to revolutionize the French capital. A spectacularly talented serial winner with an ego to match, Ibrahimovic became PSG's first superstar signing of their new era. And there was no time wasted. Zlatan scored twice in his first League One game. Over the next few years, he would go on to change the history of the club. Before his arrival, PSG had only won 2 league titles. But by the time he left after 4 seasons, Zlatan had helped secure all 4 League One trophies during his tenure. But his impact wasn't limited to just trophies. His influence extended far beyond the pitch. In 2012, he won the Puskas Award for the best goal of the year thanks to his unforgettable bicycle kick against England. Zlatan simply couldn't stop making history. His legacy grew even further when he became PSG's all-time top scorer, with 156 goals, easily surpassing the previous record held by Pedro Pauleta. Imagine how extraordinary you must be to become a club's all-time top scorer in just 4 years. A man who made the impossible look easy, Ibrahimovic left an indelible mark on PSG. In his farewell tweet, he summed up his time in Paris perfectly. I came like a king. I left like a legend. However, with all due respect, we disagree, Zlatan. You were already a legend when you arrived. Zlatan left Paris in 2016, and while a young French talent resembling a ninja turtle has since surpassed him as PSG's all-time top scorer, the club will never forget Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Before we dive into Zlatan's spell at Manchester United, I want to share a video that perfectly captures who Zlatan is. Watch how he steps in to stop an injustice, a true leader and warrior both on and off the field. This brings to mind another unforgettable Zlatan moment. We've told you about his past, how he was bullied, how he faced racism both as a child and a young player, but those challenges only made him stronger, more indestructible on the field. But they also shaped him into a man who fought against injustice off the pitch. And that's one of the many reasons we love him so much. Now let's pick up his crazy journey as he finally made his long-awaited move to the Premier League. The question was, would he join Chelsea or Manchester City, the two dominant teams at the time? No way. Zlatan wasn't looking for the easy route. Instead, he signed with Manchester United on a free transfer with one massive goal in mind: bringing silverware back to Old Trafford. Zlatan himself announced his arrival, and years later, he would reveal something incredible. He turned down a $5 million deal from the club to announce him through their official channels. What do you mean? What do you mean? You can't make this stuff up. But if anyone was upset with him for that, they quickly forgave him when he delivered on the pitch. He had an incredible season, scoring the title-winning goal in the Community Shield and becoming the oldest player to score 15 Premier League goals in a single season. However, despite his brilliance, two key events marred what seemed like the perfect year. First, he was handed a 3-match suspension after an elbow incident in a game against Bournemouth. Then, just a month later, disaster struck. Zlatan suffered a serious knee injury in the Europa League quarterfinals, which sidelined him for the remainder of the season. Even lions can be taken down sometimes. Zlatan made his return in November, 7 months after the injury, but his role within the team had changed, and he wasn't exactly thrilled with how the club treated him during his recovery. He revealed an incident that summed up his frustrations. While waiting for a game at the team hotel, he took a juice from the minibar, and Manchester United deducted £1 from his salary for it. I was surprised by the small mentality of the club, Zlatan said, referencing the little things that ground his gears. The former Juventus striker also mentioned that he was often asked for every morning. Zlatan would roll down his car window as he arrived at the training ground and tell the security guard, "Listen, my friend, I've been coming here every day for a month. I'm the best player in the world. There's only one Zlatan. If you still don't recognize me, you're in the wrong job." It was typical Zlatan, unapologetically confident and determined to make his mark. The first few months were challenging, but by March 2018, Manchester United announced that Zlatan and the club had agreed to part ways. During his time there, he won the League Cup, the Community Shield, and his third and final international trophy, the Europa League. While these may not seem like massive achievements for a legend like Zlatan or a club as big as Manchester United, they marked the best season the club had experienced since Sir Alex Ferguson's departure. However, while Zlatan was making history on the field, an unexpected wave of hate from his home country was building. The controversy began when Ibrahimovic bought a large stake in Hammarby, a Stockholm-based club. This move was seen as an act of betrayal by Malmö fans, who had once idolized him. In retaliation, they vandalized his statue and even set it on fire, hurling several racial insults, none of which we'll repeat here. Malmö supporters went from worshipping Zlatan to turning him into persona non grata. This backlash might explain why Zlatan decided to take a break from European football altogether. In a move that shocked many, the 36-year-old Zlatan, still in peak physical condition after recovering from his knee injury, signed with LA Galaxy in the United States. His announcement was as epic as his arrival. He took out a full-page ad in the LA Times with the message, "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome." Zlatan quickly became the biggest star in Major League Soccer, following in the footsteps of other international legends who made the jump to the U.S. But despite his age and recent injury, many thought this would be the end of Zlatan's playing career. Yet once again, the king proved them wrong. Even though LA Galaxy was the only team where Zlatan didn't win a title, he left behind unforgettable memories of his time in the MLS. Perhaps the most iconic moment of his MLS career was his debut. Zlatan came on in the final 30 minutes of a Los Angeles derby and delivered a performance that will go down in football history, showing the world once again that when Zlatan steps onto the pitch, he does so in legendary fashion. In a heated derby against LAFC, the LA Galaxy found themselves trailing by a goal. But Zlatan Ibrahimovic, known simply as the Sweet, turned the tide. He leveled the match with an incredible 41-meter volley, a strike that was later crowned MLS Goal of the Year. Zlatan didn't stop there, delivering the game-winning goal in stoppage time. Reflecting on the moment, he said with his signature confidence, "I heard the crowd saying, 'We want Zlatan.' So I gave them Zlatan." Praised as one of the best to ever grace MLS, Zlatan's larger-than-life personality often overshadowed the league itself. While he excelled with LA Galaxy, being named Player of the Year twice in his 2-year stint, he made it clear that he felt the league wasn't on his level. His farewell message, another Zlatan classic, read, "I came, I saw, I conquered. You wanted Zlatan? I gave you Zlatan. You're welcome." The story continues. Now go back to watching baseball. The king was ready for one last challenge. Zlatan returned to AC Milan in the second half of the 2019-20 season. This time, however, the club was in a very different place. A far cry from the strong and reliable Milan he once knew. The team had gone 11 years without a league title. Most players would have hesitated to risk their legacy at 38 years old, but Zlatan was not most players. Rather than worry about what he might lose, he saw an opportunity to make history yet again. Zlatan's return was remarkable. He scored 11 goals in 20 games, but Juventus still secured the Scudetto that season, leaving Milan fans frustrated. Their anger only deepened when, the following year, Inter claimed the Serie A title. Despite this, Zlatan's individual brilliance was unquestionable. He delivered crucial moments, including a brace to win the Milan derby, but the club still craved league glory. It was time for one last dance. During the 2021-22 season, Zlatan accepted a reduced role on the field, starting just 11 of the 38 Serie A matches. Even so, he remained pivotal, scoring 8 goals and inspiring Milan to end their 11-year title drought. When the final whistle blew, Milan were champions, and Zlatan had cemented his place as an eternal legend. After the emotional celebrations, Zlatan revealed the true extent of his sacrifice. He had played half the season with a severe knee injury, ultimately requiring surgery. As whispers of retirement grew louder, it seemed that one of football's most extraordinary careers might finally be coming to a close. But you know Zlatan, he wasn't going to retire quietly. The Lion fought his way back to the pitch, and in March 2023, he made history once again, becoming the oldest player to score in Serie A at the age of 41. 41. Imagine being in that kind of shape at such an age. With a career full of unforgettable moments, Zlatan announced his retirement later that season after playing just 4 games. An emotional San Siro stadium witnessed his farewell, bidding goodbye to a true icon of the sport. Many players have made history. Countless strikers have left behind incredible legacies. Plenty of footballers have played well into their 40s. So why will Zlatan Ibrahimovic be missed so deeply? First, his style of play was unlike anything we'd seen before. Zlatan's incredible skills were extraordinary, especially for someone of his towering stature. He wasn't just a striker, he was a complete package. He could dribble past defenders, strike accurately with both feet, and had a flair for scoring in the biggest games. Second, he understood the game on and off the pitch. While Zlatan often appeared arrogant, this was all part of the persona he knew his fans, and even his critics, expected. He thrived in the spotlight, not just with the ball at his feet, but in front of the cameras as well. His mind games were just as masterful as his footwork. Consider moments like this. When asked a tough question, he'd respond with unparalleled confidence. "I've never heard this question before. I think only you don't understand," he'd say, before turning the tables on his interviewer. Or when he quipped, "Do you know better football than me?" "No? Then why are you talking about it?" Zlatan's wit was as sharp as his strikes, making him a true character in every sense of the word. Of course, his bold personality wasn't without its challenges. Zlatan had his share of infamous clashes. During his career, he managed to turn conflict into another arena where he dominated. For example, at Juventus, he grabbed Nedim Onuoha by the neck in an on-field altercation. As teammates with Rafael van der Vaart, he once threatened to break his legs during a heated exchange. During a training session at Milan, he got into an actual fistfight. These moments, while controversial, added to the legend of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He wasn't just a footballer, he was a spectacle, a force of nature both on and off the pitch. With Aguchi Onyahu, who burst into tears during an interaction with Zlatan, one thing became clear. You truly don't want to mess with the king. And we haven't even mentioned his fiery encounters with Romelu Lukaku, Marcos Rojo, and Joey Barton. As controversial as he was, Zlatan always stayed true to his beliefs. Remember the time he removed his shirt to reveal the names of 50 starving people tattooed on his body? It was a bold and generous act, showcasing his awareness of the world beyond football. Despite his status as a king, Zlatan never forgot that there were countless others facing hardship. Beneath the fiery persona was the real Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a showman in front of the cameras, but a grounded and compassionate man at heart. So yes, we will miss him on the field. Zlatan wasn't just a footballer. He was an experience, a phenomenon. And for us, Zlatan will forever remain the king of football. How would you rank him among the greatest strikers of the century? Does he make your top 10? Let us know in the comments, and thank you for watching.